If we have a choice of where we go to get our health care, I believe the natural paradigm shift will happen by itself. There are a lot of people that don't want to use medications to solve their problems. And the more and more they hear about their friends getting help from functional medicine, the more and more attracted they will be to go spend their money on doctors who want to get to the root cause of their healing. Right now, we're telling people and doctors, hey, you know what? It's really a fruitless cause to tell a diabetic to stop eating sugar. Actually, I'm going through nursing training right now, and we have not talked about sugar, but we've talked a lot about salt. And that's amazing in and of itself to me. Okay, I want to tell you about an experience that I had at an endocrinologist. I went to go see an endocrinologist, and this was before I knew about iodine and selenium, but I was learning about the thyroid and all these chronic disease issues in the thyroid, because a lot of them affect the thyroid, and the ranges that we have on our normal thyroid labs are very wide. So you could have a thyroid problem and it wouldn't really show up as abnormal in those large ranges. Also, there's something called reverse T3, and when that is very high, it negates the free T3 in your body. Okay, moving on from there, I get to the endocrinologist and my thyroid hormone is a little low. And it's low for, she was saying that it wasn't. She was saying that it wasn't low, but I had looked it up, and for a pregnant woman, it is low. And that's important because when you are pregnant and you have a thyroid issue, you are 4 times more likely to have an autistic child. Why don't they plaster that all over the news? And what's very important for the thyroid is iodine. Iodine, selenium, vitamin A, okay? Lots of nutrients are important for the whole body. Anyway, minerals especially. Okay, so I'm sitting in the office of the endocrinologist, and I tell her, I say, I can see her, she's got thinning hair, she has bulging eyes, both indicative of a thyroid issue. And I'm talking to her about gluten, and a lot of people get relief when they take gluten out with their thyroid issues. But I'm talking about mold toxins and mycotoxins, and I said, well, you know, I wanted to learn more about what this endocrinologist would say about, you know, the thyroid. And basically, those bodies, those antibodies to the thyroid are just basically localized and meant to work on the thyroid. So when they say autoimmune disease, I'm just kind of like, well, how do we know that those cells aren't massively being colonized by mold or mycotoxins clinging to those tissues? Because different molds have different propensities actually for different parts of the bodies, different organs, okay? Some of them like different areas. And that it's a new research, but it should have been started a very long time ago because there was enough proof a long time ago to start this type of research. Anyway, moving on, she told me, I mentioned to her, I said something like about our thyroid problem, like including her, and she said, I don't have a thyroid problem. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't talk to her about her thinning hair or bulging eyeballs, but I was like, okay. So she's like, well, I could give you thyroid hormone. I'm like, well, no, actually, I just wanted to I really wanted to talk to you, and I'm gonna deal with this naturally, but I wanted to just kind of get your thoughts about this and everything, and at the very end, I was talking about conventional medicine, how I was very distressed about conventional medicine and how it was not helpful for my daughters Genetic demyelinating disorder of the brain, I am not saying that things genetically do not have significance. They absolutely do. But we are genetically pushing people off bridges here. Genetic susceptibility to our environment is a very big thing. And we're learning more and more about that, especially the use of glyphosate, but probably a lot of other chemicals too. And the ability for those pollutants to just accumulate in our environment and make fungus thrive. Okay, back to my story. I was expressing to her my disappointment, and she says, yeah, you know, like in India, where she's Indian, she's like, in India, it's very controversial, and the government is like cutting down the trees. Cutting down the trees? I'm like, what do you mean cutting down the trees? She means like, oh, well, the people, they go get the medicine from the leaves of the trees, and they don't want them to self-medicate. The pharmaceutical company, you know, doesn't want them to self-medicate, so they're cutting down the trees. I'm like, wow. It kind of reminds me in the Bible where it says, like, the trees, the leaves of the trees will be for the healings of the nation. I don't know. Anyway, moving on, I just thought that was really crazy, and I'm like, this isn't an abnormal thing to be going on. The suppression of information. Like, we're moving towards, and it's not even about anti-vaccine. I am not anti-vaccine, and I am not, even though I have, you know, my two youngest non-vaccinated. I think that I can do a better job supplying them with, building them up with nutrients and immune boosting things in their life to be able for their immune system to identify and get rid of pathogens and viruses and do a well job at it. Not only are nutrient deficiencies linked to a lot of these more serious complications of these disease processes and viruses and bacteria, it is directly linked to a lot of deficiencies. And if you're, for example, the measles virus, you know, there's therapeutic benefit when you have more vitamin A. Well, if you are already way deficient in vitamin A and you get measles, you're obviously going to have a much bigger problem when it comes to this. And if you think that we're not deficient in the United States because we've become so advanced, I am so sorry for you. I would love for you to do research like crazy, and all the anti-nutrients and all the pollution and all of the gut issues that we have directly affect our nutrient level in our body. And blood testing isn't good enough. Hair samples are better, and even better when you have somebody that is able to interpret them correctly. Because sometimes when your iron and copper are really low, they're actually not low, they're accumulating in your body in places anyway. Moving on, I just thought it was nuts that she told me that. And if more people had voice and more people spoke up about these things, would it even get out anyway? Because here we see suppression of my stupid, small little shorts, and I've got hardly any audience at all. So they're suppressing that. I just can't imagine all of the people's testimony that are being suppressed in the way of many issues, not just natural methods of taking and helping somebody with a condition. It's just disgusting. I'm disgusted. I'm mad.